Welcome everybody to the Life, Death and Happiness podcast. This podcast is all about real talks with real people. Why? Because some stories just need to be told. In each episode, I will sit down and talk with my guest about how it is to live with an incurable disease or terminal illness. But let me get this straight before we start. This is all about celebrating life. I'm your host, Daniel Cole. Welcome. Welcome to this 10th episode of Life, Death and Happiness. And today with me, I have a good friend. We have met a couple of times, and I really think you guys will appreciate this conversation here. Meet Jordan from Utah.
Hey.
Can you?
How are you?
Please present yourself and tell us a little about who you are and what you do in life.
Yeah, my name's Jordan. Last name Brunson, for what it's worth. I'm from Utah. Originally from Delta, Utah, small town.
Mm-hmm.
For work now, I'm in construction, so I do construction work. I drive semi-trucks and dump trucks for new construction around the area. So.
Oh yeah, I saw some pictures of it. I was quite surprised by that, actually.
Yeah.
But you have a diagnosis? You have Fanconi Anemia.
I do. Yep, Fanconi Anemia, Fanc A, I believe.
Fanc A. Okay, the subcategory or whatever we want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little about when you was diagnosed and how you found out that you actually have Fanconi Anemia?
Yeah, for sure. I was 9 years old when I was diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
Just like every other kid, my parents put me in sports and, did those kind of things. And I remember when it first started to present itself, I was on a soccer team and I was, running up and down the field and stuff, and I'd just get extremely tired, and I'd have to be, subbed out more frequently than the other kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think, I don't know how old I was at that point, but a little while later, I just got like a common cold or whatever. And I went to the doctors. It was real bad because, in Fanconi, when you get sick, it escalates beyond normal. But I went in and got some blood tests done, and it kind of seemed like a while, but they came back with the results of the tests, and I remember sitting there on the table, and they were all just surprised that I was actually like still alive and sitting upright because my blood count was so low. I remember my doctors saying they're on the phone with Primary Children's. It's a hospital up in Salt Lake called Primary Children's, and they were talking to the doctors up there, and they're like, "Oh, is he still like alive? Is he sitting upright?" Like, yeah, he's all smiles and all this and that. And, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of how it came down to that. And they're like, you really need to get up here like within 24 hours. And where I'm from, it's about 2.5 hour drive up to that hospital. And I think similar with a lot of other Fanconi people, excuse me, I was diagnosed with aplastic anemia at first.
Oh yeah, a lot of people actually get that diagnosis to begin with. That is also diagnosed that leads to bone marrow failure, but it doesn't have most of the other consequences that Fanconi anemia have.
Yeah, exactly. So they started treating me for that, and then it was a little bit later than they ran some more tests and things, and they say, you actually have Fanconi anemia, and of course, no one's ever heard of that, and
of course not.
They've only heard about it in medical school and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, that's kind of where my journey started, or how it started.
So how?
And then
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. I was just wondering, when you got that diagnosis, was it something that did you figured out quickly, Or was it like maybe a couple of months, or how long did it take for them to actually figure it out?
To figure out I had Fanconi or just the original diagnosis?
Just the Fanconi, yeah, the Fanconi.
I think after they diagnosed with aplastic anemia, it was relatively quick, actually.
Okay.
If I remember right, it was within the month, I would assume.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty quick. I mean, some people go for years without actually knowing the right diagnose. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
How did that land with you and your family? I mean, like you mentioned before, nobody knows what Fanconi anemia until you actually get the diagnosis.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty sure you were told the same. Well, you were probably told the same thing. Don't Google it.
Yep.
You know, they told my parents, don't Google it. You'll find stuff on there that'll freak you out or not necessarily true or whatever. But I think for the most part, I don't know. I was so young, I don't really remember a whole lot. But I remember my mom told me, she would always say that the doctor up here would say, you know, treat him like a normal kid. And, you know, that's kind of what my parents did. And I'm super grateful for that because I've actually led a pretty normal life considering, you know, everything. But I think it was a big shock to my family. But, you know, we've gotten through it. So.
Yeah, you need to deal with it no matter what. I mean, you can't run away from it no matter how much you want to do it. So.
Exactly.
After you got the diagnosis, you have some very low blood counts. And as you talked about, you were sitting there, they were like, can he actually stand up? Is he alive?
Yeah.
I mean, how did you manage to get these information while still being at school and have to, you know, be present with your friends and your family? And did it affect you at all at this time, even though you were that young?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there's two sides to it. One side being like everybody knew me because it's such a small town where I grew up. Everybody knows everybody. But that kind of escalated it, you know, like, so I don't know. I didn't really have issues with friends or anything like that. I was always, you know, hanging out with friends, doing the things, you know, that kids do. But it's kind of like leading a double life. And then, you know, there's the other side of it where it's like, you know, not everybody is going to doctor's appointments every 3 months or so, you know, to get blood draws and see where your tests are at, and, you know, see where your health is going. But yeah, I remember I was in 6th grade and I did this fundraiser to earn money to put towards the FARF organization. And I sold bracelets and things like that that had like Jordan's journey on it. And, you know, that was a big hit. And it was kind of cool to see, you know, almost everybody around town, you know, wearing these bracelets. You know, it was very supportive community of me and my family. So it was all in all a good experience for me.
I really, it's something that I kind of admire a lot. I mean, each different nation have their own way of doing things. But one thing I keep going back to whenever I visit the U.S. and when I talk to you guys from there is that you often have some very strong communities that are good at helping each other. I think that's, I'm not going to go into the big talk here, but I think sometimes it's, I mean, we have the free healthcare here. So each and everyone is taken care of no matter what happens. But that also, I think, make people less likely to help each other because they don't feel like they need to because they're like, why should I help? Or, I mean, the government will take care of it.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. So sometimes, even though I think it's a good thing that we do have the free healthcare, of course, but on the other hand, I kind of admire these strong communities you actually have because I've experienced them over and over again. And I think it's something that's, to me, defines a very good part of America, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of envy you a little there.
Yeah, I remember So like when it all started, there was a kid from my hometown. He's a couple years older than me, but he actually did a blood drive type thing to find a match for me.
Okay.
So everyone in the community came and donated or whatever, how they find matches, but they did that. And the local grocery store, they pay for all my family's groceries, up to so many, amount of dollars or whatnot. But just to kind of, because, everyone knows that it's not a very cheap thing to go through, it's, so our community was very, very supportive of my family. And, and like I said, my hometown's really small, so it's kind of, everybody knows everybody. And then when someone's, having a hard time or whatnot, they'll step in and pitch in and give their hard work. So
I thought that's pretty, so that's pretty cool. I really admire that because, I mean, no matter where you're from and what situation you're in, when you get a diagnosis, it could be Fanconi Anemia or cancer or something totally different. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something that is hard on the whole family. I mean, it's not just going to appointments. I mean, everybody can do that, but also the mental game of it all. I mean, you have this constant worries or fears or whatever you want to call it, and people. I mean, your parents have to be sure that they can get off from work to do the appointment. Yep. They have to make sure that as a kid that you don't worry too much about it. They also have to protect you. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many things surrounding a disease like this. It's not just to get a diagnosis, get a few blood samples, and then just go on with life. I mean, it has impact on so many people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, did your blood counts get worse, or have they been stable all the time?
So I don't really remember much from when I was first diagnosed till up till transplant, but I did have a bone marrow transplant in 2005.
Yeah.
When I was 12 years old in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I had like Dr. Wagner and Dr. McMillan and all those, famous doctors who do a really good job. But I had a double cord blood transplant. So they never found a match. Well, I had a match. And then it was like a week or two before I was supposed to go, start the whole process. My donor backed out, which was my mom's worst fear. But that happened, and then they got me on the list for cord blood. And then within like a day, they found one, and it was quick, and we started without having to backtrack any plans or anything like that. But I remember them saying, with the double cord blood transplant, you don't have as many problems, as, other transplant types. But in my memory, I had it pretty rough. And my mom can probably back me up on that. But I remember getting everything in the book. I was sick.
Yeah.
Chemotherapy, radiation, full body radiation.
Yeah.
And all those things. And, it really, it puts you on your deathbed, honestly.
It really
brings you down to where I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I remember the physical therapist would come in and they'd say, "Okay, time for exercises." And, I would obviously fight it because I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't walk down the hall. It was real bad.
I mean, when you put a child in that situation, I mean, that is how we behave as child. I mean, what else should we do? You don't want to be in that situation. It's hard on you. You feel that your world is tumbling down, and then you have this physician come in and be like, "Hey, can you make some jumps and go for a walk?" But, no.
Nope. Not doing it.
I mean, we try to control something. I talked to a few of the others about that. When you are through something like this, it just gets very important to control just a few things in your life, because everything else you can't do nothing about.
Yep.
So
it's like you can't really control Fanconi anemia. I mean, you can kind of try to control it, but it's going to take its course.
Oh yeah.
You know,
no way you can really. You don't have a word in that saying. I mean, things happen when they happen, and there ain't much you can do about it. Besides actually living your life and try to keep up the spirit regarding it all.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious regarding your bone marrow transplantation, and just for people who do not know so much about Fanconi Anemia, when you mentioned FARF, that is the Fanconi Anemia Research Fund, there's a few places worldwide. I know there's something in Brazil and Japan who also spend a lot of money looking into how you can cure Fanconi Anemia. But in most of the West, the American Foundation is the big one. Even though we have some in Germany and England, they also support FARF because it's better to have the scientific people working closely together than have them spread out. So instead of have 50 places that each know near to nothing, it's better to have all the knowledgeable doctors. And the doctors you mentioned before, I mean, everybody in the Fanconi Anemia community knows them because they're giving lectures in this disease and how we can live with it and what we should take care of and stuff like that. So it was just to give the listeners a few words about these things. So when you're going into something like a bone marrow transplantation, you said you were through a very, very rough time. I don't know if you want to share anything about it. I can start with just to give people kind of an idea about how difficult this can be. Sometimes it goes rather easily. In my own case, I know that I got so sick. I had a high fever, and I can't really. It's like about a whole week. I cannot remember anything, not a single thing, because I was so sick that week. And many years after, my parents actually told me that one night the doctors thought they were going to lose me. So they asked my mom to call my dad and my brothers so they could come in and be there in case that I actually died that night. I mean, so I got through it. I don't know how, because as I mentioned, I wasn't aware of anything, but something inside me must have fought really, really hard to get over that point so I could continue from there. But, I mean, it must be so hard on the family to a patient to go through something like this. This time, in my case, it ended well. And so it was the same for you, because you're still here, obviously.
But,
I mean, we know people we have met and throughout the Fanconi community who have lost their children during these circumstances. So even though when I talk through the podcast, everybody I talked through here, of course, went well, obviously. I mean, but it's just to say that it's not something you just fly through. It is hard.
Not at all.
And, I mean, I don't know how, if you want to share a little about your experience there and how you felt about going through that as a kid.
Like I said before, it was rough. Like you, I mean, there were, a few weeks here and there where I honestly don't remember a thing because I was so sick and, in such pain that I was drugged up and, it was, the whole deal. But yeah, same with you. I mean, I was constantly vomiting and, I had graft versus host disease of the stomach, I believe, which was really bad.
That is bad when you get that,
Yeah. And for those of people who don't know, graft versus host disease is, when you get the bone marrow transplant, your body rejects it and starts to fight back against those new cells. But yeah, I had it bad. I would be discharged from the hospital because I was doing good, and then it would flare up again. Excuse me. And then I would be back in the hospital trying to treat it. But yeah, that whole experience, like you said, it's not a walk through the park.
No, definitely not.
I remember not being able to eat anything. Like, I was not able to eat anything or drink anything or even hold anything down for that matter. I mean, it was on all the medications and things they put you on to save you. Sometimes attack other things, But
yeah, it's like any kind of medicine. I mean, if you look at the package of any kind of medicine you take, it's like, oh, this cure whatever it is, the headache, but there's 20 other things.
But side effects.
Yeah, side effects. Sometimes you'd be like, I'm not sure I'm gonna. this is good for me. And this is on a much, much bigger level, actually. So they try to cure you for this part, and then your body reacts in 100 different ways at the same time.
And then you've got something else you've got to fight on top of that. But yeah, I remember, another thing I want to bring up is I heard someone else talking about it in their podcast episode is, I think it was Allison was saying that she has to pay attention to doctors and making sure that they're doing, doing the right thing and, make sure that they're giving the right care and whatnot.
Yeah.
I remember one night I was, they come in every hour basically through the night to give you medications or do vitals and all that kind of good stuff. But I remember one night they were coming in and they were giving me some kind of medication through the IV, those little IV ports, they put the medicine through. And I had the IV from the pole and it was draping down over the floor and then up onto my bed. And I remember waking up the next morning and there was just blood all over the floor from like my hospital bed clear up to the front door. It was, I couldn't even explain to you how much blood was there, but it was a lot. And
that must have freaked you out, didn't
it? My parents would do shifts. So my dad would stay with me during the night and then he'd go sleep during the day and then have my mom come during the day. So I'd always have one of my parents there. And I remember waking up and just screaming, looking at that blood. And my dad wakes up and is like, what's going on, and sees it. And I just remember saying, Dad, am I going to die? Dad, am I going to die? And that was kind of the last I remember. But long story short, the nurse had stepped on one of those ports. They're plastic. And it broke. And so the gravity pulled blood out through my IV and all over through the floor. But yeah, I've had a few experiences like that where you don't really necessarily get the best care.
Oh, man. I mean, it's such a specialized department where you get something like bone marrow transplantation. And still, they're not trying to hurt us or anything, but they're human beings and they make mistakes.
Yep.
But when you work in a place like that, mistakes just gets much bigger. I mean, you can't really make a small mistake.
Afford them.
Oh man, I think I would have had nightmare years after regarding something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. I still remember that day.
Oh yeah,
pretty well.
Oh, I get that fully. Oh. And that's something. And this is not to scare parents of Fanconi Anemia children who listen to this, or other people who is about to go through a bone marrow transplantation. They're good at what they're doing. They're extremely good.
Yep.
I mean, the survival rate is so good these days.
Yeah,
but it's not risk-free.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So it's just
for
it's
sure.
not risk-free and it is hard. But of course, a lot of people are going through it and is coming out on the other side and get to live a better life. So not to scare anybody, but I think it's also important to not lure people into this fairy tale that is just something you go through and then you take out a month of your life and then you move on. It's nothing like that.
Nope.
It has effect on you. I mean, mentally it must have. I don't think I've ever talked to somebody who's been through something like that who wasn't kind of had some scars, mental scars because of that. I mean,
exactly.
When you get that as a kid, I don't know if people did that when you got the bone marrow transplantation. But I mean, I'm like 500 years old, you know. I had my BMT 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So back then...
There's a few of you that are kind of old in the Fanconi world.
Yeah. But I mean, back then, there wasn't a lot of support. They didn't really think about the whole psychological aspect of it.
Yeah, true.
But I do believe, at least according to what I've heard from several people, that they have become a lot better at actually helping out also afterwards.
Yeah. I haven't taken advantage of that before, but I've heard that there's stuff out there, you know, for like counseling type stuff to help with that kind of stuff. Because like you said, I mean, going through stuff like that at such a young age, for me, I mean, it made me grow up fast.
You don't really have a choice,
what else
right?
do you do? But yeah, and the mental toll that has on anybody, you know, is pretty serious. I think it, you know, luckily I'm a pretty positive person, and from this experience, it's made me, what should I say? Kind of like, I just get through things easier or quicker, you know, like this is bad, but it'll get a lot better. You know, you just kind of fight through it because that's what we are, fighters.
I use that.
It's helped me to instill that
word about
in
being
me,
a fighter or warrior, whatever you want to call it. But again, I think it was kind of interesting. I think it was Allison in an early episode that said that she didn't really like that word, because if you fight something or someone, it's because you actually have a two-sided battle. But this is just Fanconi Anemia. So I thought that was a very interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, there's...
So I don't know how to explain it otherwise, but it gave me food for thoughts when she said that. I was like, I feel it here, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I remember her talking about that, and I did the same thing. I was like, oh, yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
That's a good thing for me about making this podcast. I learned so much. I mean, you guys are smart.
Yeah, for sure. It's really nice to hear other people's stories, you know, and different perspectives.
Yeah, I totally agree.
On it.
Regarding the whole situation, when you came back to school, and as you said, you had a very supportive community, probably still have. But also, as you mentioned, it made you grow up faster. Was there any aspects of your life where you really felt that part?
I guess nothing that really sticks out. I mean, just going to that young age makes you grow up in a way of like maturity type of thing, you know, where I felt like I kind of matured a little more than my peers did at such a young age, just because of all the stuff I was going through. But yeah, that's probably a situation I would find.
I think for me, it was more like I started to take responsibility way earlier than a lot of my friends. I mean, I think this mainly taught me that I cannot sit around and wait for someone else to do something for me. I mean, so I don't know if... when I was a teenager, I hated that part because I was like, I want help. And, how come I have to do everything by myself and stuff like that? And my parents also, to be honest, because I had the Fanconi Anemia and I was very sick as a child, they spoiled me. But as soon as we were over this part about the transplantation, they also really tried to give me some core values about, you know, now you're still alive, you're here. And of course, we feel sad for you, but you also need to take responsibility of your own life and create your own life.
Yeah.
So it won't be for nothing. And as a teenager, I thought sometimes they were a little too hard on me. It was like, oh, can't you pay for that vacation I want to go to with my friends? And I was like, nope. But to be fair, they were often like, okay, if you go out and earn half the money, we'll figure something out. And I thought it was so unfair. But I mean,
yeah, as a teenager, you would.
but again, because I've been through so much, it was also easy for me to say, okay, I'm going to do it. So even though I was whining a bit when my parent was around, it actually taught me a lot. Never mention it to them,
okay? Okay. No, I kind of agree with you. Like, I've noticed in my 20s, I'm 26 right now. Just like you said, I mean, I've had, like, I guess the determination and the motivation to do things, or like if I wanted something, like go and do it, you know, like get on it type thing. So yeah, I can see your point of view.
So I mean, when after you were over with the transplantation, did you have any issues at all? When you mentioned the GVHD, of course, but I mean, like a couple of years after, were you still suffering from that, or?
I remember when I was flying home from Minnesota, I had GVH pretty bad, and then when I got into Salt Lake, they admitted me to the hospital there for a little while and treated it, and I think that was the last I've ever had it. But I believe it was like 2 or 2.5 years after I was done with my transplant. I remember I was in and out of the hospital frequently with just different viruses and, you know, different things. Nothing serious, I don't think. But, you know, at that stage, your immune system is so low because your body's trying to build back all those, recover everything. So, I mean, I had to wear the mask, you know, just like everyone else does, and I hated it, so I'd never wear it. But I had to wear the mask, and, you know, I didn't go to school for 2 years. I missed 7th and 8th grade just because of I couldn't be around.
Time. Is that normal?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Is that normal now?
Is what normal?
To be off from school for such a long time? Or was it because of the GVHD and the problems afterwards?
Yeah, it was everything afterwards. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't be around, you know, my peers. But I had a teacher come to my house and, you know, go through schoolwork and stuff like that. But I remember most of the time I was too sick for them to come over or, you know, to do everything. So I remember doing very little schoolwork at all. But yeah, just because I couldn't be around kids, I couldn't be around my peers because of possibly catching something, which at that stage, like I said, could be pretty fatal because, you know, your body's so...
your immune system is...
is so low. But I eventually, you know, started getting better, and, you know, it hasn't really stopped, honestly. I just keep getting better every day.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, I actually was able to jump right back into school where I left off. So I didn't go to 7th and 8th grade, and I jumped right into 9th grade, and I graduated high school.
Oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, so it didn't affect me too much.
Oh, that's cool, because I've been talking to you about this, about getting back into school, and, you know, you have to find out your role amongst your friends, and I mean, you have to catch up on all the homework and stuff like that. But you had a pretty easy time regarding that, actually.
Yeah, I remember having a talk with somebody, it was my parents and some teacher or something, about, they gave me the option, like, would you want to step back a grade and then, you know, continue, or do you think you can jump in where you left off? And I remember thinking, like, all my friends will be graduated and I'll still be in high school and blah, blah. So I decided to just jump right back into it. And it was a lot of hard work, but I was able to graduate and right back on track.
Oh, that must have been a hard fight, but still a good one. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it's way better to get that chance to actually be among your friends and the people you know than have to skip a class and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really get that. So, you have not had any cancers or anything?
Nope, no cancers. Cool. Knock on wood, right?
Yeah, knock on wood. But no cancers. I love that. I mean, no, but it's so stupid when I talk to people. They're like, haven't had any cancer for years. I'm celebrating until the next. People be like, are you guys crazy? Yeah. It's just the Fanconi talking, okay?
Oh yeah, no one understands our level of humor. You got to kind of joke about that kind of stuff every once in a while.
Yeah. But also, when I met you, you seemed like a very down to earth guy. You always have this smile. I think you smile a lot. Yeah. You're comfortable to be around.
Thank you.
I have to ask you because when we talked like some time ago, and you showed me you were driving trucks, I wouldn't have believed that in a million years. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but people who do not know us with Fanconi Anemia, we tend to be rather small.
Yeah, and I think I am. I'm only 5'4", something like that.
But it works out well for you, and you love that.
It does.
I was thinking about it because when I when I was in the U.S. Recently with my family, we drove around in Chevrolet Tahoe. That's okay. I think it's a pretty big car, but
yeah.
And people were making so much fun of it when I put up the picture on Facebook. They were like, "Oh man!" So I myself wrote, "Somebody might be overcompensating a bit here," but that was only Tahoe. And then I see you in that big truck. I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't think I would ever do something like that either. But kind of getting back into the, coping with things and getting back into real life. But I remember graduated high school. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't know if you've heard of that before.
I know
worldwide
I've seen you mention it before.
Yeah. As Mormons. That's kind of the world term. But I actually served a mission for 2 years in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So after high school, I went to a semester of college, and then I did that. And then I got back and went to some more college. And then I ended up kind of dropping out because I didn't really know what, I wanted to do with my life. I didn't want to waste a bunch of money on something I didn't want to study. So I moved back home, and that was kind of difficult for me. Like, even though it was, I love my family. Like, I love my family. Like, I'll be around my family more than anybody or anything else, and I'm happy. But it was such a struggle for me because the only jobs that I would get, or that I think that I could only do, was just like fast food and just kind of, like, God, I'm not worth anything. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life because, I can't do anything because of my illness. I kind of let it get me down a little bit. But I remember I was on break at work once, and I was on my phone looking up jobs. And I remember my good friend from high school, his name's Danny. Shout out to him. He'll probably listen to this later. But he owns a trucking company. That's kind of where I got started with it.
Ah, okay, I see.
He was looking for a driver, and he called me when I was looking for jobs like those same jobs, and he was like, "Hey, how would you like to come drive for me?" And at first, like, I can't do that. Like, you kidding me? Like, there's no way. But I kind of took a shot in the dark and tried it, and he put me through everything, all the trainings and things like that, and I started, and it was a little rocky at first. I was like, God, this is something I can really do, and but it actually ended up working out really well. And because of him, and partly because of him, he kind of saved my life. I mean, I was down in the dumps for a long time because I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know where I was going to end up, but in a way, he kind of saved my life, because he got me a good job, a really good job. And got me back on my feet.
It's something people should never underestimate. We all need to feel we have some value in life. I mean, that we can, that we are part of the normal world. I mean, go have a job and do stuff like that. And I want to take, that is also why I asked you about your job. Because I also I want the younger people with FA to know that it's worth taking an education or going out and get a job that suits you. I mean, I've been working with so many different things. You've been a truck driver. We know people who are nurses. We know people with Fanconi Anemia who grew up with these problems like we did. And they have all kind of cool jobs. I think we even have a lawyer. I mean, come on.
I think we do.
Never underestimate what you can do just because you have some issues. And I know there's people who have a lot of more issues than you and I have, of course. And I know that it's not easy for everybody. I'm not saying that it's easy for everybody, but you also have to be willing to try. Because it brings so much good into your life when you can do normal stuff. I mean, never underestimate normal.
I mean, that, like I said, that saved my life because I was going down a road I probably shouldn't have been on. Just, being down in the dumps and stuff. But, now, I mean, I work sometimes 60 hours a week, and it's hard. It's really hard. I'm sure you understand, all the things we struggle with, with fatigue and being tired and, all that. Can't really do a whole lot of physical stuff, but being able to do that and, being able to work a full-time job, like that to me means a lot.
Oh, yeah. Also, it's so basic. I mean, to earn your own money so you can get the life you want. I mean, nobody's going to come and do it for us. I think it makes me a little sad when I see someone in their late 20s or 30s who doesn't have a career, never had really got the education, still living with the mom and dad. They're afraid to go out because what if something happens to me? I mean, you got FA, something will happen to you, okay? Lighten up.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on when, right?
When you get there, okay?
No, I was... No, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say, for me, I was fortunate because he was a good friend of mine, and he grew up in the same town as me, so he's kind of been through my journey, along the years. So if I ever need a day off or hospital appointments, stuff like that, he was very, very good with that. And that was a huge blessing to me because I think that's the hardest part for me was finding somebody who was willing to work with my schedule. And I think once you do that, the sky's the limit.
Oh yeah. And the part you said there, yes, that is something we do have to be aware of when you have something like Fanconi Anemia, that you have the doctor's appointment. And even though you should go out and live your life like a normal person as much as you can, I can't stress this enough. Remember your appointments, okay? And if you find a job that won't accept that, get the hell out of there, okay? They're not good human beings. They don't care about you, and they never will care about you. I mean, if they can't if they can't respect you enough to actually acknowledge that this is about your life, and it's important to get those checkups, you need to move on as soon as you can. I know we all need the money, and I think we have all tried to get those shitty jobs because we just I mean, you need food on the table, okay?
Exactly.
I mean, I've been working in a discount
I've been there before.
And it was like, I even tried to, that was a nightmare. Like 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I
got the
understand.
offer of working as the manager of we have a combination of a Shell and a 7-Eleven here. A gas station. I was there for 3 months, and I hated it. Even though I was supposed to be the manager, I was really, it's well paid, and I can do this, and it's going to be great. Yeah. But I mean, I sold gas. That's not really.
Yeah.
It's not really good. Okay, it makes it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said,
I know it has a part in our lives because we need to drive around and stuff like that. But when you walk in there, you can smell it all day. We sold tobacco.
Kind of get sick of it.
And because of the area it was in, we sold a shitload of alcohol. I mean, so it was gas, cigarettes, a lot of alcohol, and then it was what you call gambling, lotto and stuff like that. And people who came in and did the odds on soccer matches and stuff like that. And after 2 months, I was like, okay, this is one big shithole I'm in, okay? I need to move away from this as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
I mean, but it paid well, and I needed the money. We needed it a lot of that time. So I just, fortunately, that I could find something else.
Yeah.
So, kids, remember to go get a job.
Yeah, that's right. It may suck, but good things will come.
But that has nothing to do with us have Fanconi Anemia or anything else. I mean,
nope.
In the beginning, when you are out, you feel the freedom. You could do whatever you want, and then you figure out you have to be responsible. You have to earn money. You have to actually go and get a job where you have a boss who decides what you have to do.
Yep.
I mean, it sucks big time in the beginning.
Oh yeah, I agree.
but I'm an old man, so I'm allowed to say you will learn over time, okay, to appreciate it.
Yeah, there you
go. So, but you have, just to get back on track, you've been cancer-free and you're feeling good. I'm kind of curious because you talked a little about the Fanconi Anemia Research Fund, and I've met you a couple of times at some adult meetings that is held in the U.S. very often. How long have you been part of that society?
The Fanconi Anemia adult group. Mm-hmm. So I think the first one I went to was in Orlando. When I met you was when I first got into it.
Oh, that was your first one too. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was 2016.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, that was my first experience.
You had never met anybody with the same disease before, or had you met on occasion on the hospital?
I might have met one other person when I was in Minnesota. But other than that, that was the first time that I had been surrounded by so many, with the same condition. And to me, it was like mind blowing to me because I never had people who could relate to me. Like you'd mention something and then like, oh yeah, me too. You're like, wait, what? Like, oh. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was a really, mind blowing, eye opening experience. It was great. And I've been going ever since. I haven't missed one yet.
Oh, cool.
And I'm going this year to Chicago. So
yeah, hopefully I will show up in Chicago. So I still have a few. I think I've gotten the week off from work, and that has been settled now. But I mean, I still got to figure out the economical part of the side of this. But I'll figure it out somehow. I mean, I want to go. I couldn't go last year. Last year we had the funds for it, but my wife was.
Yeah, we missed you.
Yeah, and I would so much love to be there, but my wife was pregnant, and she was so close to the date that so she wasn't allowed to board a plane.
To fly, yeah.
So I was like, okay, yeah. And it was in Newport, and I love that.
Yep,
I love that area.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a lot of fun.
Oh man, I missed out on that.
This year.
Oh yeah, I will do everything I can to go to Chicago. What I found the most weird or fun or whatever you want to call it when I attended the first meeting in the US was how much alike a lot of us looks.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah, that was me too. I was like, oh, these guys look like me.
It's so strange.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I didn't know. I've met a few from Denmark, and I could see there were some similarities, but not on that scale. I mean, there were so many people, and there's something about the eyes.
Yep, smaller eyes.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, we walked up to there, and when we walked around the hotel before it started, we could actually see who would probably be among the...
Yeah. I remember doing that too. I'm like, oh, yeah, they're part of the meeting. I know that. Yeah. No, I mean, it was, like I said, it was like comforting to me because, growing up my whole life, it was kind of like I had to explain myself when like every time I would get like a new doctor or something, it's like, okay, here's my story. Or, here's this. Or, going on dates or something, it always come up and it was like, okay, well, here's this. But being there, it was just kind of like you didn't really need to, explain the basics. More or less, you just have to explain your story.
Yeah.
But more or less, it was everybody was like on the same page, and it was just fascinating to be understood.
And maybe it doesn't sound like much to many people, but it matters a lot.
Oh yeah.
On the other hand,
I didn't feel like alone. Like, I mean, I don't feel super alone like now, but it just was that level of like, oh, I'm not alone. Like these people understand, they get me,
I'm no longer a unique individual.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. No, I want to dive into the next topic because as a podcast is named Life, Death, and Happiness, we also have to talk a little about death. Because to me it's kind of sad that we don't talk more about it in society. I mean, everybody will die someday. But
yeah, exactly.
Especially when you have something like Fanconi Anemia. And I'm wondering what thoughts you have been doing regarding death and the disease you have.
Well, first off, death doesn't scare me. Like, I mean, even though the fact that it might come sooner for me rather than, the average person, to me, that doesn't bother me. Just because I live my life every day to its fullest. But as far as the disease goes, I don't really think about it a whole lot, honestly. Other than like when I go to my appointments, that's like probably the only time I really have like really been thinking about it. Other than that, other days, like I said, I just live a normal life, and when something comes up, then I'll deal with it. And then as soon as it's over, I'll move on.
I think that's a good way to live. And I talked to some of the others regarding that too. Some of the other people who have been in the podcast as guests. I mean, you need to, if you want to stay sane, you need to be present in your life and get the best out of the situation. I mean, if you always walk around thinking about, well, am I going to die tomorrow? I don't think that's healthy at all.
No, if I did that, I'd be a mess. But yeah, you can't live your life out of fear of when your day is going to be, like when you're going to die. Like you can't live like that. You'll miss out on so many opportunities and so many, fun things. And I chose to live my life at a young age to just live every moment. And, like I said, when something comes up, luckily I haven't had cancer, but, if it happens, then I'll tackle that and move on and enjoy life.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Because, I mean, it's the moment that it gets you down is when things tend to get worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I don't know what the English expression is for it, but it's kind of a loop. If you start to think in a more negative way, it will affect you mentally, and I also think it will affect your health. Because as long as you're positive, you get more endorphins, and you just coming into this positive circle where you keep getting better, and when you have positive thoughts and you laugh a lot, you just tend to not get sick as often. At least in my experience.
That's been mine too. I mean, you'll ask my family or anybody, I'm always laughing or cracking a joke or
I believe that.
doing something fun, I mean, my grandpa's my best friend, but he'll tell you, I silly all the time, just kind of cracking jokes and living life the way I want to. So, and I agree with you though. If you have negative thoughts and experiences, like well, not really experiences, but thoughts and your mood, will affect you mentally. And from a Fanconi standpoint, you're already kind of affected mentally just by all the stuff that you've gone through. And the way I see it is like, why add more to that?
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah. So have you talked to your parents and the rest of your family about how to handle it if you suddenly get so sick that you might not make it? Have you had some of those talks with the people around you?
I have not.
You have not?
Actually, no. I remember though my mom telling me when all this started, or it was during my transplant time or after my transplant time. I'm not saying this to cast any stones on my mom. She's a great person, but she kind of had my funeral planned out already. Because the survival rate, at that time was pretty low. And so I don't think she had it planned out, but it was kind of in her mind, like, oh, we probably got to start thinking about this. But other than that, like, I haven't had that discussion or brought anything up like that at all.
I was just wondering because I didn't really have that talk with my wife or the rest of my family either before Orlando, actually, because she knew the situation, but it's different that you just hear a little about it, and but I was doing well at that time. I mean, it's a different situation when you get to a meeting like that and you hear all the stuff and all the people's experiences. So we had I won't say a difficult talk, because actually it felt good to talk openly about it. So when we left, actually, for Orlando to go on a week's vacation from there, when we drove for a couple of hours, and she was like, "Can we talk about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." But and it, to me, it was not depressed. It wasn't a depressing thought at all, because it was more like practical. Because she was like, "I kind of want to know how you feel about this," and I was like, and I actually want you to know what I want if I die, because that takes a load off your shoulder. You don't have to make these kind of decisions if you're already in pain and feel sad and all that and in sorrow. I mean, so to me, it felt good to have that conversation. It just kind of got it out in the open. But then again, we haven't really talked about it since. So
I haven't had that talk or even thought about it, honestly. I mean, I've come close to it. I've seen the light a few times, not gonna lie to you, but deep down in me, I don't know what it is. I just feel like, I'm gonna be running for a while. So I'll hold on to that.
Yeah, you better.
I will.
Someday you will need to beat my record, okay?
Oh, there you go.
34 years past this year, this fall. It's so crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Dang.
But I know that feeling you're talking about. Even though I had that conversation with my wife, it felt good to get it over with and, just get it out in the open. I also have this feeling, and I don't know why or how to explain it. It's just a gut feeling that I'm going to stay around for a long time. I don't have any plans at all, even though people be like, oh, you're old for an FA. I'm 43. I mean, I'm so long past BMC. You have already had a cancer. And I know all that. I know the facts. But
you know better than anybody.
but in my body and my mind, I'm all through my systems, I just know that it's not my time yet. Not even close. I mean, I have stuff to do. I mean, I wanna see my son grow up. I wanna have a lot more experiences with my wife. I still need to travel to some countries around the world. I mean, come on, I don't have time for that death shit.
No, I feel you. I understand. I'm the same way. I think that gut feeling or something where it's kind of like, your time's not coming for quite a while. You've still got a lot to accomplish. So,
so even though I do have occasionally have some days where I'll be more emotional and be like, oh, how is this going to end? But I mean, it's nothing compared to what it was when I grew up and was a teenager. Not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so many years past that. So, and I feel, at least to me, it's important to let yourself have those days and not beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I wake up the next day, I'm 100% me again. And I have the same will about living and just keep going like a stupid Duracell rabbit. I mean, come on.
Yep.
Oh, but I want to get into the last part of this about happiness. I think it was Mary Beth who said it was kind of overrated to talk about happiness in the West, because what does it really mean? Does it mean we have to go travel and do all these big things, or is it just to have some pleasant people around you, just to live life? I mean, we all have different definitions of this, but I'm curious about, what is happiness to you?
So happiness to me is my family. I could be anywhere doing anything as long as I'm with them. Then it's best time of my life. Me, like, I love seeing new places and new things. But I necessarily don't need to travel per se. Yeah. But for me, it's all about people, like the people who are close to me and spending time with them. Give me them in the mountains and I'm good to go. That's happiness for me.
Oh, you love the mountains. Yeah.
Yep.
We don't have any mountains in Denmark. That sucks big time.
Oh, sad.
I mean, the rest of the north, go to Norway, go to Sweden. I mean, I can go to Sweden. It's like 2-hour drive, not even 1 hour drive from where I live. As soon as I get over that big damn bridge to Sweden, there's mountains everywhere, but we have not a single one in Denmark. It's so freaking unfair.
Sounds like it.
It's a very, very extremely flat country. Like,
yeah. Makes you sad.
I love the mountains too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for me, it's just people, being around those people I enjoy to be around. Those people I love, my family, my brothers, my nieces, grandparents. I could be doing anything or be anywhere. And if I was with them, then it'd be pristine.
So it's also the same people you go to if you're having an off day, or do you have some other means to lift up your mood?
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, I'm a truck driver, so I have a lot of free time on my hands. I I call my grandpa, my mom, like a bunch throughout the day just to chat or whatever. But yeah, those two are probably the most I go to if I'm having a down day or whatever, and they'll pick me right back up.
Oh, that's good to hear. I mean, we all need these people or this go-to place or whatever. I mean, when you're having a rough day, it's just good to have someone or something in your life that you can depend on, and where you feel comfortable being, and so you have room for your thoughts and you can get back up again. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Have a good fan base is what I like to call it. Have people who are there that understand you and kind of know your situation. People you can lean on is huge, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, I appreciate that a lot too. I mean, there was a time where for me it was more about traveling and stuff like that. I still appreciate that a lot. Don't get me wrong here. But now I'm getting. I mean, I should have known. Okay, I never thought I would become a parent at all, because a lot of us can't get children, and also my child is also a donor child. But me and my wife chose the donor together from an open register, so I've been all the way through. I've been a part of it, and matters a lot. Right now, my go-to place, that is just to be with the two of them. When I'm with the two of them, everything is okay. Everything is all right. I mean, I can have the most shitty day. I come home, I get that smile from that little fella crawling over to with a big smile on his face. Oh, it's so difficult to keep being mad or frustrated or sad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And also,
I understand.
And I know a dog is not the same, but I love my dog too. And he's been there for way longer than my son has. And some people make fun of it. Oh, it's just an animal. I don't freaking care. I mean, when I got cancer as a diagnosed, when I came home, I mean, my wife had to be at a job. I mean, we need the payment. I mean, we need the paycheck. So to me, it was just wonderful to have my dog around.
No, yeah, that company goes a long ways.
Even though it's not human company, to me it was just like, he's been my best friend for 9 years now. So that ain't gonna change just because I got a wife and a child. I mean, come on.
That's good.
He's a family member.
There you go.
And the good part is,
that's awesome.
I mean, I can talk to my wife about everything. I can talk to my son, but he can't understand anything. No matter what I tell my dog, he never ever starts to argue with me.
That's good. That's a good thing.
That's happiness right there, to not be corrected.
There you go.
I'm thinking about if you could give some advice to some of the people who are getting a diagnosis of something. It could be other Fanconi Anemia, children or young people, or people who getting suddenly gets told that they have cancer, stuff like that. Could you give some good advice how to approach that situation?
Yeah. I know for me, like in my experience, like getting diagnosed with that, it sucks. Like it really does. Like it throws your whole world through a loop. You know, and that's okay to think that and to feel that, but don't dwell on it. I think when you start to dwell on it is when things start to go south. So my advice would be, make the necessary steps forward, how you're going to beat this, how you're going to move forward, you know, and just don't stop. The minute you stop is when you start to fail. That would be my advice.
I think that's a pretty good one.
Thank you.
So people out there, you need to listen, okay? He's a smart dude. He knows what he's talking about.
I wouldn't go that far.
I know I know people handle these things differently, of course. We each have our own ways to deal with these kind of things. But I think it's good sometimes because when you are new to this, it can be overwhelming. Sometimes it's good to get a few advices for someone who has been there and know what it's all about.
Yeah.
So that is why.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it sucks, it really does, but just don't dwell on it.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, it sucks, and it just does. Just accept that it does.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to sugarcoat it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not fun. It's not delicious. It doesn't taste well.
Yeah.
It's a disease, but don't dwell on it.
Yep.
Accept that it's there.
Yeah.
Take responsibility regarding it. Go to the checkups.
Yep.
Listen to what the doctors are telling you. But yeah, I think it's pretty simple as you said. Don't dwell on it.
Yeah. Okay.
So now you said that you use your family the most when you're down and stuff like that. But I'm kind of curious because I'm a gamer nerd. Okay, so if I'm having off, then everything else fails, and I just sit down there with a good game, and I can get lost in that for hours, and then I know that I build up some positive energy while I'm doing that. So
yeah,
I was curious if you have something you do, like movies or music or something totally different. Play the violin. I don't know.
No, I wish. No, I play video games sometimes. That helps de-stress. My little brother's into that, so we'll play every once in a while. I'll play with him. But I think my big thing is music.
Yeah.
I remember when I was going through transplant, they gave me a iPod Shuffle. At that time, it was brand new, so it was pretty cool. But I got one of those, and my dad put a bunch of music on it. And I don't know, ever since then, it's just music has just been very soothing. So if I've had a bad day or stress or something like that, I'll hop in my truck and turn on some music and just drive. Those two things, driving and music, those things.
Not a lot of things beats that. No.
Yeah, I'm a big thinker. So I mean, if I get in my truck and turn on some music and just think, after an hour or so, I'm good to go.
I like that. I actually missed that.
Yeah.
I worked as a driver for 2 years, but that was 20 years ago. But that was the part the payment back then was shitty as. Yeah. But I like that part of the job about being in my own world. Sitting there listening to music and thinking about life and just see the roads passing by. I love that part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I know how you feel regarding that. I get it.
Yeah, that's my go-to.
That's your go-to thing.
Yep, that's my go-to thing when I'm feeling stressed out or anxious or overwhelmed or whatever.
Then you have made the right decision regarding that job. You can combine that.
I know, right? I get thinking, it's like, oh, you drive too much all day, every day. Why do you want to go do it again? But it just doesn't get old.
but I love when you have the possibility of, together with my wife a couple of times, instead of taking the plane, we have been driving to Paris. We did that in the early years of our relationship a couple of times, and I just love that. Just that 14 hours, right? Where we took turns driving the car. I love that. The conversations we had, and just be you're just in this small confined world together. I mean, when you sit there, it's just, I love that.
Yeah, it's soothing.
Same we do when we go to the US and we drive around. It's just, I feel so good regarding that. It's like, we have a 5-hour drive. Yoo-hoo! I mean, I like that.
Get all excited.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was good.
I was just happy that you actually wanted to participate. I mean, I ask people about it, but for some it's a lot to come in and talk about your life and what matters to you and hopes and fears and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was a little skeptical at first. I'm not a big public speaker, but I'm glad I did it. It was a lot of fun.
And I do think that a lot of people will enjoy what you have to say. And also, I mean,
I hope so.
People have met you especially. You. I mentioned that before. You seem so calm and down to earth, but you always have this smirky smile. I mean, I like that. So I was very curious about your situation and what have led up to here.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And to you guys out there, we will be back in 14 days from now with the next episode. And hopefully I will do that for the rest of the year. We still have a lot of interesting people in the pipeline. So check you out there. Remember to tell the people you love that you love them. Don't hesitate about these kind of things. And if you're dealing with a lot of hard and difficult choices regarding an illness yourself, keep up the good spirit, okay? Keep it up and lift your head high, because there's almost always something positive that you can grab onto, so it will get easier for you to go through the hard time. So, but thank you, everybody. Take care. See you in 14 days. Thank you for listening to tonight's episode of Life, Death, and Happiness. If you like this, please do us a big favor and head over to iTunes, Overcast, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast from, and subscribe to us. If you also give us a good rating, it will help us a lot reaching much more people. So I will appreciate that a lot too. Also, you can of course follow us on Facebook and Twitter and help us spread the word through there. My name is Daniel, and thank you so much for listening.